to motivations and basically just the journey and how it started.
Okay. So AfriKinky, unlike most businesses, did not start I would say the usual way, right? When back in 2005, no, 15, lost track of years. We can all remember that there was this movement of going natural. Everywhere you go on the internet, women were showing the fact that they are cutting off their perms and embarking on this great journey of going natural. So I was not really an Instagram person. Olivia was. I was like a Facebook lady. And then I went on Instagram, I'm like, what is all this? Okay. And I saw my little sister, she went natural. So I was tempted to go. And eventually, I joined the journey, and it was amazing. To do your first big chop was like, oh Lord, this is wonderful. I didn't really know how nice my natural hair was. Back in Ghana, you cut your hair really short, but you don't really give it the time to grow it. So it was just an amazing experience for me then. And then I realized that they had a lot of pages of, if you want to go natural, like groups, especially focusing African Americans. And at times I'll post my picture hoping to be featured. Getting featured on these platforms is a big deal, right? And then I never get featured. I'm like, oh, I wish there was a page for Africans, right? Because what I realized, a lot of African Americans have different hair pattern that was really mostly different from ours. So I was like, it would be great to have a page where we have showcasing Africans hair. So then I reached out to my friend Olivia. I was like, how do you add another page? Then she quickly showed me, and then I was like, okay, how are we gonna call this name? So I called Olivia and thinking about it, I'm like, okay, Africans gone natural, gone natural, gone natural. So then that's why the name came. And somehow I also realized that most Africans have this 4C hair, right? So we wanted a slogan to kind of go with it. When you are into the social media world, you realize there's trend or things there are certain things that makes it work, right? So we wanted a slogan to go with the Africans gone natural, because Africans gone natural is almost like a sentence, right? Than a name. So then we came up with, we wrote down a lot of names, and eventually we ended up on AfriKinky, meaning represented Africa, and kinky represented the most hair type in Africa, 4C hair, kinky hair. So that's the meaning of AfriKinky. We started using it in our posts. You will see AfriKinky Diva, AfriKinky Nation, AfriKinky Sunday Best. And eventually, somehow, there's something with the name that people love. Was catchy. And we went at the event where a white man will see AfriKinky. I like that name. So we realized that people were using the name, and it was going far. Like friends from back home were calling, asking about AfriKinky. So it got to a point that we knew that we have to move it to a different level. But as to what we wanted to do, because most natural hair pages, they were doing shampoos and conditioner and all other stuff, but we couldn't really figure out. And I always say, if I have to release a shampoo or a conditioner, it really have to work. You really have to work for a 4C hair, because most shampoos and conditioner at times, it's not really, for us kind of. So I was not too quick to try to release a shampoo or a conditioner. So we're still trying to figure out what we will do. But through the course of posting on the Africans Gone Natural, we realized our core value was basically on women empowerment, right? Because we're featuring women and we're getting comments from women, and it was amazing and overwhelming, right? So then we came out with this thing, said, African Gone Natural, when we're writing our mission statement with no business. We're like, our aim, and I'm going to read it here. Our aim is to galvanize African women to become the main agents of development and success in their community. As to how we're going to do it, we have no idea. But we said it. I made a video. It's on YouTube, a short video, and I posted it like, this is who we are, and this is our story, right? So we have the vision statement, we are doing our stuff, we run campaigns, like Rep Your Country, where people were showing where they are, from everywhere in Africa, Ghana, Nigeria. We had a lot of fun on social media. We also did fashion show representing the rich culture from Africa and all that stuff. All this without a business, right? We're doing this thing for free, somehow entertaining people on social media. But one thing that, when we're deciding to really move towards, moving it to the next level, we wanted to find a way to help African women. One thing I realized was that we have most natural hair products being done here, sent back home, right, with our natural resource, right? With our natural resource, sent back home. And girls, because the fact that it's coming from US, they'll buy it at what price? Any price they'll buy it. Because some of these natural hair products are $15. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, wow. Like companies like Shea Moisture, right? You can name, most of these ingredients are coming from where? Shea butter is one of the #1 ingredients in most of these. So it's just the moments of thinking, right? And trying to ask some silly questions or, something that doesn't really add up to you. I was like, okay, all right. So through that, we felt like, no, we've also seen that there are other women on the continent who are producing their own natural hair product. We have companies like We Natural, Air Natural, they are all in Ghana. They are doing amazing work. They are employing children, college students, they are doing a lot of amazing work with nobody amplifying, the work that they're doing. I know AWDF is very big on amplifying the voices of African women, and that's one thing that drew me into this organization. And through one of the events that I attended, I connected with Moyatu, and eventually I ended up on AWDF. So you can see that from African Go Natural, I was developing a deep, I don't know what it was with women, Africa, empowerment, something that I couldn't really put my hands on, right? So we came up with this thing called AfriKinky Award. And the focus on the award was to amplify the voices of all these amazing women entrepreneurs who are making their own products. We did it for 3 years. And even last year, 2019, AWDF sponsored the winner, which was a very wonderful thing that the organization was able to do to support. And we hope that we can, eventually do more if we get more sponsors to really go look back and look at some of the work that women are doing on the continent. How can we, in our own little tiny ways, can do to amplify their work, right? So eventually, we're doing all that. Then, with me questioning the natural products, women empowerment, and now learning more about the whole process, we realized that one, going natural was a big deal. People were using natural products to create their own DIY products at home, right? So how can we give them access to those products? It's coming from Africa, right? So, and then one thing that also drew us closer into sourcing this natural product was that we had women in the community coming together to create or handcraft these products. So then it was like at one point, it was so clear, the vision was very clear. We spent years with having a vision, but not too clear. But at one point, it became very clear that, okay, AfriKinky is gonna start with releasing natural products from the continent with women backing it. And we're gonna distribute it to the world, right? So that's how it all started. It's a very long story. I can go on and on and on and on about the AfriKinky story, but I think it's a unique story that, like I said, it's not the usual way people start, right? It went through a whole thing. And eventually, after all these years, now we know where we are going, and we have to go back and re-edit our business plan and how we aim to move forward.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for that. I don't think it's long. It's like the perfect, I've done a bit of like entrepreneurship studying. And I think in some ways it's the perfect model, like the whole idea of reiteration, the piloting phase. But I think something that's really interesting is like the whole idea of starting by building an audience, starting by defining your values and the products coming along the way. Because I think a lot of entrepreneurship journeys, the assumption is always that the product comes first. And sometimes, as we're seeing, especially when building businesses online, sometimes it's building an audience, building a community. That's understanding the market. So that's a really interesting and like useful, pointer in terms of how the journey started. But something that you kept reiterating was this whole your identity as a Black woman, as an African woman, and something that we do know if you look at the statistics, particularly within the US context, there's this idea of like how there are a lot of Black women entrepreneurs doing a lot of things. The statistics is about currently and since 2007 about like 167% growth spurt in terms of Black women businesses. And yet, as you know, with the context of racism and structural inequalities that come with gender, in so many ways, we are Black women businesses are like underfunded, under-resourced, and then there's just marginalization. So I guess I would want to know more about the experience between you and Olivia, because I know that this is a partnership, based on like how has it been running a business as a Black woman within the context of the United States and the diaspora.
Are you talking about more on the funding part?
In whatever way. So in terms of resources, finding resources, in terms of challenges that you particularly face being a Black woman in business, if you could speak to that.
Yeah, in terms of resources, we like funded ourselves. And I mean, when we decided to source the natural product, the decision was, okay, we're going to do this for our first shipment. We're going to think about this amount, how much can you contribute? So no pressure, whatever, any one of us contribute, we started with that. In terms of resources, it's been just, us, and we also have great support system with our family, like members around, but everything from designing the logo, like our old packaging, you can see, I have the shape butter here. I actually came up with how the logo is going to be, right? So creating the logo myself, all the other stuff. You wear a lot of hats, right? It's just recently this year that we've been fortunate enough to hire somebody full-time on the continent, and that also go back to the fact that what we stand for, right? Supporting, it's like the continent, there's something about the continent that we love, and we should, right? We're from Africa. So even when we knew that we needed a little bit more help, we wanted to, hire somebody on the continent. So everything else so far have been us. The struggle basically is just, being a mom, being a wife, and also managing all these things at the same time. That's been like, but you have to do what you got to do at one point. But we managed to go about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if Olivia has some.
Yeah. Go ahead, mommy. Yeah. I have some. Yeah.
Oh no, it's just I wanted to say there are two amazing women on this platform. Cynthia knows one of them quite well. And when I actually connected with Cynthia, she mentioned, she's like, oh my God, I met her. And, she was speaking at an event. So I use a lot of her products. So Sister Fonlayo Alabi, she also founded Shea Radiance. I mean, I use Shea, my husband swears by it. So, if my husband uses it all the time, then you know how good it is. So I just want to honor her presence in the space. And I imagine that it would be nice to hear a little bit from her. She is amazing. And she's part of the AWDF USA board. I mean, informally so, but soon to be formal. And then the other person is Sister, where is she? What am I missing out of her? Is she gone off? Oh, Opiniwa, yes, she's there.
Yes. She'll be the next on the list.
Yes, Opiniwa is also on there. So, and I don't know if this is Amma Duncan, but Amma Duncan is another person who is doing amazing work just in terms of this space. And so I just wanted to honor these three women who are on here and to draw from their well of wisdom. So that's all I wanted to say.
We'll get into that. And I think, Obinu, I have a proposal for you, so we'll get offline. But there's a difference between selling products and selling services and knowledge. And I think that'll be a really interesting discussion with you as well. So we'll come to that 2021. But go, okay. So I'm gonna, I think my question interesting, and I think thanks to Valerie for sharing this, that, usually think of like, I've got to have a business plan. I've got to know exactly what I'm doing. I got to have the target. And it sounds like you flipped it a bit. And I think that the iterations have been interesting to watch. And we'll get into some of like, how has that happened? Because I know you were growing as well in last year. And we'd love to hear from Funlayo and on her perspective and the sort of the same market space as well. Martha, you have a question? Go ahead and then.
Yeah, I had a question. Thank you so much, Cynthia. I'm just looking at the fact that you mentioned you were in the private equity space and currently you're also with BNP. And I think that for me, that is actually an area like the investment, private equity, finance space. And currently I'll be starting an internship with a private equity firm. And I'm also someone who is interested in, I have like something small that I'm doing, like a business, but then it hasn't scaled up to that side yet. I'm just wondering, like looking at the pressure actually from the financial sector and with your family, how you were able to handle all of that at the same time, and especially because it's also in a foreign land, just like myself.
Yes, perfect. Okay, thank you, Martha. So Cynthia, how do you manage family? I know you've got church, right? You do a lot there. You've got a lot of work happening in the workspace. How are you managing it? How are you balancing this, or not? Right. And like Olivia can share, and then we can, and then I'll flip back to Moitzi on the sort of the collaboration piece. But let's,
Okay, so I would say at one point, and this is when I think I had either my second born or the first one, I made this thing call that I have to make sure that it doesn't matter wherever I am, within the 24 hours, right? I have to be there, right? Because at times if you don't take care, you'll be at work, but you'll be home, or you'll be home and you'll be at work. So I try to make sure that if I'm here, I'm here, and I'll have to give my all, right? So that means if I'm working, I don't care whether I have 3 kids, and what they're gonna eat, Hopefully I took care of that before I went to the office. I make sure that when I'm in the office, I utilize that time really well. Same thing when I'm home, I make sure that I try not to bring work home. Because not just home with the kids, you have a husband too, right? Also needs some attention. So I have to make sure that you every time, like even if I'm at church and I have to do church stuff, I have to make sure that I'm there with them, right? I think that have really helped me, because what will happen is you become really the best at every area, right? If not, you'll be an average mom, an average employee, an average wife. And if you don't take care, you probably will start losing your husband, and even a very bad friend, because you probably don't connect with your friends, as much. So you try and make sure that wherever you are there at that moment. Right. So that have been, something that I've been working with, and they helped me a lot. And I hope you can adapt to.
Yeah. So here's a question: where do you get your Cynthia time? How do you do that?
Okay, so that one,
especially with virtual school, the kids at home.
I need Moyatu to help, and Mommy. So I know Mommy talk about the whole woman. I think I'm like 90 something. I need that Cynthia self to make it work, but somehow I feel like when I'm able to do all that, then the Cynthia is happy. I don't know whether it's good. I think at one of these events I realized, no, you really need that Cynthia time. Even when you want to lose weight, you want to make sure that you get a Cynthia time to be able to accomplish that. So yeah, that one is still a work in progress, I would say.
Right. No, thanks for your candor, right? Thanks for your candor. It's not as simple as, right? I'm gonna balance all these things. It's not easy, right? I'm sure it's not. So Yeah, so I'm gonna flip to Moitzi. And Moitzi, let's maybe talk about, and again, if anybody has questions, let's go through. And I'm gonna hit up some of our heavy hitters on the call as well. So other ones, Mommy, go ahead.
I have a quick question. So when you were speaking, Cynthia, you said something earlier about the time you knew that it was time to move into a different direction. So my question is, how do you know when it's time to shift gears? And when you know that, how do you shift gears the right way? How do you know when it's time? Like, when do you know it's time to shift gears? And then how do you do it?
Okay, so I think with us, because we're doing a lot of research, about the continent, and a lot of it also came from the posting, right? It was almost like we have times where we're posting about African products. So we're kind of educating ourselves through the post tool. So then when I was able to locate a co-op, and then we realized that, we have the funding for it, we decided to give it to go with it. And also, I think the fact that people were asking, like, I think you have to read your audience, because we had a platform with no product for years, right? And then people, even up to now, people be like, "Oh, Cynthia, can you guys source?" Somebody's asking us to source palm kernel oil, and I know Ghanaians will be like, "I don't like palm kernel oil," but I can't tell you the number of requests that we've received to source palm kernel oil. Right, so you see us sourcing more like different products. A lot of it is coming from what people are asking us. So when we hear it over and over again, we do our research to see, okay, would this be good for the market, and then we bring it. So yes, when you have the resource, then and also when you feel like the market is there, especially now, like the unusual way of starting a business. Start a social media platform, blog about it, where you see, you have the audience, do something, right? Some of the ideas that we wanted to throw was like maybe come up with an app, a natural hair app, where, it will ask you a bunch of questions, and perhaps it will, suggest a shampoo or conditioner or something for you. Actually started working on that app, believe it or not. Right? So those are some of the stuff that we're thinking about, and then we ended up with the raw material. So just come up with the different ideas, just write, whatever comes, just keep writing. Because one thing I realized was the more you just try to brainstorm in a very quiet place, God drop things to you, and you'll be able to know the direction that you have to go, and then pray. Definitely pray.
Thank you. All right, Moitzi, I'm going to flip to you.
Hi everybody. Once again, my name is Moitzi. So Cynthia, you mentioned that this business is co-founded, and I just, we just all want to know, like, it's easier to run something when you're by yourself, but when you have another person that you're doing it with, and your co-founders together, you kind of have to run things by each other and make sure that you are on the same page. And so how do you build trust between each other, confide in each other, and how do you make sure that you share a common goal in the running of the business?
I think Afrikinki story is unusual in every angle, right? So when even with co-founding, me and Olivia has been friends since 2002. Like I said, next year will be our 20 years. So when we started the African Go Natural, we're friends for 13 years. And for somehow, we are very, very, very close and so attached to each other that it makes things easy. And if I'm mad at her, she's able to tell me. And if I'm mad at her, I'm able to tell her. To a point, we are all, to a point at times, if we have to bring the husband in, we grab them. It's coming in like the police people. And then we make sure that, we talk it out. you know. And we are women of faith. We pray, you know, when I'm down, Olivia is there, you know, when she's down, I'm there. And I mean, it's been an amazing time, you know, to really know Olivia. You know, I have 8 sisters. I'm about to cry. I have 8 sisters, but I'm telling you, you know, the relationship that I have with Olivia is amazing. And she's a sister to me. And I think that makes it easy for us, like, you know, in terms of trust. You know, whether you have the books and record or not, I don't think everybody, you know, we have to really care too much about, you know, somebody doing something secret here and there. You know, I think it's just the friendship that we have is just so unique that really bring us together, you know. She will always say, that, oh, where did I find this girl from, right? Yeah, like you can't really get rid of me. It's through her that, you know, I met my husband. And so there alone, I can't really pay for for that price. But yes, but we also make sure that we put, like, we had a business plan. We document everything. So yes, the friendship is there, but we also make sure that everything is documented. We make sure that rules and responsibilities are fully detailed. I'm not going to make any decision without asking Olivia. Even something common as posting, I always send it to her. She have to check it before I post. So we have that kind of relationship. And Olivia is here, so.
Yeah, Olivia, we'll love to hear your perspective, and then I'll go to Novi. And Mommy had an interesting question as well in chat, so we'll come back to that. Olivia?
Hi, yes. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, yeah, like everything that Cynthia said, I think things that firm a strong foundation in any partnership or business is trust, right? So having that background with that friendship, you know, made it easy of a transition. You know, Cynthia has been my friend, my sister. So we have those open lines of communication, and we have boundaries set. So when it's time to do our sister talks, our motherhood talks, you know, a little stuff on the side, we do that. And then when it's time for business, it's time for business. So being able to have those boundaries structured is very, very key to the relationship. So it's been a blessing. And yeah, prayer has been everything as well. Because when she's mad at me, I know, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And the vice versa. So it works out because we're able to get through it, work through it, no matter what, we'll find a solution to it. So I think having that as the foundation is key.
Right. Well, thank you for that. Novi, you had a question.
Yes, I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Cynthia, for sharing your story to us. I'm very passionate about the beauty product space, and it's a space that I would like to continue growing. I started a small brand in Malawi probably in 2018 before I came for my freshman year. And then I know moving from an idea to actually launching products, and then now taking and scaling that business can be a little, I guess, a whole process. I'm just wondering if you could share a few tips that have helped you in scaling and growing your business to where it is today, that would be beneficial to people like me who are growing a small business, and also other people who are also entering into starting a business.
Yeah. And Cynthia, certainly would love to hear the perspective of growing during COVID times, right? Last year, I could see that you guys were growing as well. So it'd be really interesting and really important to understand that too. Yeah, thank you, Novi.
I think now with, you know, starting a business, branding is everything, right? Like I said before, Africans, we have great products, but because at times the way we brand the products, we don't really get the value for it, right? Shea butter is great, but you go to the African market and they have it wrapped in some plastic thing, right? And, you know, if you ask somebody to pay $15 for it, they'll be like, you're kidding me for this, right? But if you really package it well, you can really sell it for the price that you're asking for. So I would say spend more time on packaging, on branding, and that will, you know, take you far, because everybody know Coke, right? It is because of the way Coke have branded Coke. When I say Coke, I don't need to explain it. So spend more time in branding it and stick with, your values really well. And also, like, you said skincare, make sure that, you go through the whole testing. For us, we don't have to kind of do all that because it's raw materials, but make sure that you go through all the testing, make sure that you really get the formula really well, that when you spend all the time with branding, when it hit the market, it's gonna sell. And also make sure that you pay attention to your customers, because they tell you, right? With that, with small business, at times it's hard, but use tools, apps, different apps out there can really help you to track your sales, to find a way to track your customers and follow up on your customers. Those are all things that you need to make sure that when you start your business, you don't take that for granted, not just, producing the product and hope that people will buy, but branding, great customer service. And what else did I say? Yeah.
And then can you speak to that, in the time where the economy was shrinking, especially last year with COVID, I could see that you guys were also expanding. How did that happen?
Okay, so that's one thing that I hope it can also turn to a different discussion. We were somehow we're able to connect with one store, right? And we send a product, they like it, and we're so happy. But one thing I realized was the fact that these stores it's like they are interconnected somehow. You see them as different stores, but they underneath somewhere there's a group of people who are sticking together and making it happen. And that's something that we really don't see with Africans. Everybody's doing their own thing, and it makes it so hard for somebody to, you have great product, but you don't have that network for somebody to help you. But in this beauty, even the supermarket, they work together. So you connect with one, and then, based on the relationship that you have with them, they will link you to another person and another person. And gradually, from time to time, you see that you are moving to places that you never, thought that you can. So that is a key. And, when I realized, I was like, man, we have to come together. My sister here, from Share Radiance, we are all doing almost the same thing, but networking and, leveraging each other network is very, very important. Something that we have to, AWDF viewers, so we have to do something about it. Mommy, you have to do something about it. That's something that I think is lacking, and that we have to come together. Even when you look at African Americans now, they are growing. African American businesses are growing because they are supporting Black owned, right? We have pages that they will buy. People are buying our product because Black Americans are buying because they are connecting with Africa, Black owned, But then when it comes to us, the Africans from the continent, where is the support? So Nana, I would say, it's just a Black girl, having able to connect with one, maybe on Black, who have a strong network of non-Black, and somehow I'm navigating my way, in. But if we are able to have something like that from Africans, I think that will really help us.
So I think, I know we had talked in the past, and maybe we should definitely try to do this year, is having a database of African Black women-owned businesses, even in the US or in Europe, etc. Because I think, why should I give my money to somebody else when I can give it to all of you who are doing amazing work with products that we trust, right? And so that's something I think as AWDF USA we can do this year. I think that would be great. Martha, you had a question.
Yeah.
And I might pull in the other entrepreneurs into the discussion as well next.
I'll be quick about it. So I was with Cynthia, I was also wondering when the testing phase, I believe that although it's a testing phase, you were not selling the product out for free because it's testing, but it was still like at a certain price, but maybe not as the price you sell it after the branding and the whole thing. And then my second question is about the connecting to the supermarket or with the supermarket or building the network. Did you just walk up to a supermarket one day and be like, okay, I have this product. Are you interested in selling it for me? Or like, how did you go about it?
So I have the first question for us, our products are not formulated, right? So then we don't have to go through, like when you formulate a product, you have to go through testing and all that. So it's a little easy for us to put it on the market, right? We just have to make sure that we're sourcing it from a community, a co-op, a well-trusted source, and we also make sure that the products, the benefits will be great for our customers, right? If we start moving more towards, I know a lot of people are asking us to create black soap shampoos and all that. If we end up in that space, then we probably will be working it behind the scenes for maybe, how long it would take for us to make sure that black soap shampoo or whatever we'll come out with will be great, right? And then your next question, the way it worked, I have a big family, so when I go to the supermarket, I have a big car and I'm dump everything and then I'm pushing it around. And I'm a nice person in general, so I smile a lot, talk to people. So then I develop a relationship with one guy in the supermarket. And most of the time when he sees me, he will come around and help me push my goods. So then one day something was like, ask him, like talk to him. So I was like, are you the mouth manager here? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, I have this thing from Africa. It's really, really good. I'd like to show you. He's like, okay, really? I said, yeah. So I'll bring it next time. So I brought it, and then he told me that the main, the store supermarkets are not like the managers, right? They have people behind it. He's like, oh, the main person, they have a meeting, so I should leave it with him. He will give it to them. I did, went back, follow up on it, didn't really hear anything, but I still went again. So it's just, that point of not giving up and go back again. And then I was like, oh, Eric, remember the thing I gave you? And he's like, oh yeah, I spoke to them. They said there's a store in this one. You can talk to the manager, you can go there. So that's like months after our first initial encounter. And then when I went there, he's also connected to another store. Gradually, I started moving into different stores. So that's how it kind of happened, But we are hoping, my sister, my ladder elevator is like, you need to put it to Walmart. We are hoping to go to Walmart. We are hoping to go to Whole Food. We are hoping to go to everywhere. So we need help. If you have any connection, please support us. There's Cynthia's pitch right there.
Always pitching. No, thank you. Now I'm going to go back.
Nana Moti and Valerie.
Go ahead.
I think this might be a good place to sort of insert some of the wisdom we can draw from Fulayo
So Fulayo.
Did I just take the words out of your mouth?
Yeah, you did just take the words out of my mouth. But I mean, so you're hearing your sister's story in the same sort of area, right? And in the same sort of beauty product area, and your products are different. I get that. What has been your experience, and what was your journey like, and where are you now as well? And I think that it would be great to hear and for the three of you, and also Benoit on here. It's like, what advice would you give to people who want to start a business, who want to work, whichever industry or whichever sector that may be? What are your thoughts and based on your own journey as well? I think you're on mute. Yes.
All right, I have demuted myself. Can you
hear me?
Yes,
welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. I've just been a fly on the wall, listening and just gaining so much wisdom. Cynthia, it's good to see you. I'm just so proud of everything you're doing and all you've accomplished.
Thank you.
So the question is, what advice do I have for people starting a business?
Yeah.
I would say start where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Start with what you have. If you have a service or a product that you've created, it might not be everything you want it to be, you know, in terms of your dream, but go out there and start selling it, you know, see if someone will pay you for it. Because at the end of the day, you can spend so much time trying to perfect your pitch, perfect your product, and that thing may never see the light of day. So for me, just having the courage to get a sale was like the biggest hurdle, because once I could sell it, then I knew I could sell more and I could fix it based on the feedback and improve and sell more. So I would just say, start where you are. Just go out there and ask for a sale. It'll boost your confidence. And then you can start figuring out all the problems later.
Any other thoughts on that? And again, it's interesting just to hear the sort of the flip of, and I think that some people get stuck in like, I've got to get my business plan right. I've got to get my target market right. I've got to get this. And sometimes what I'm hearing from both of you is sometimes you just have to start. Right?
Yes, and
you'll never start. Yeah.
Yes, of course, it's important to have a business plan and doing all that. But sometimes the first proof that you even should be investing time in a business plan is to see how the market is reacting, because then you're getting intelligence to build into your business plan. But everyone's style is different and everybody's business is different. And some people are more analytical than others. So I don't want to take it away from my sisters here who are analytical, who want to do a lot of due diligence, because that gives you the confidence to go forward. Some of us are more learn as you go. You know, it's like, oh, I made this thing, I thought it would work. I rubbed it on 5 people's hands, they broke out, I guess, you know. You know, some of us are like that. We can pivot very easily. So it all depends on your style. But at the end of the day, you have to take that thing out there and see if someone will pay you for it, for you to do business.
So Afunlayo, just in terms of on that point about start anyway. Like how does that, a little bit about your own story, just briefly, you know, if you can put it in a nutshell, just your story of how that was actualized for you. And then the point of like, as you have been doing this, what are some of the pleasant surprises that have come to you as you've been doing this, that have blown your mind beyond your imagination?
Oh, wow. All right. So when I say start where you are, so my story is one where my children have very bad eczema and had eczema. And my husband and I, we have dry skin. It's just a family thing. And living in America on the East Coast, you can be forever ashy, you know? So, and this was over 10 years ago. This was before naturals really took hold. We would go to Target everywhere. We would buy Jergens, all these things. It didn't work for anybody's skin. And so we started mixing products in our own kitchen. And we asked my mother to bring some shea butter from Nigeria. It wasn't even really good shea butter. Can I tell you, she bought it from the side of the street. I think there was soot in it. There was, you know, ants and a few peanut shells in it. That's how bad it was. But we used it religiously and the thing worked. You know, like Cynthia, you know, Africa, I mean, I don't have to say you this, Africa has such great resources. We just used this thing and it soothed the eczema. My skin was no longer dry and ashy. And we were like, wow, we found the holy grail to dry skin. So my husband and I would melt the shea butter. We started putting a little bit of lavender, then we'll add a little something or the other to it. And friends would come to our house and they would take jars with them. And then we would have all these conferences, like this African Christian conference, and we would go. And I was like, this is so good. I wonder if people really know. And I would go there, and can I tell you what? 11, 12 years, well, more like 13 years ago, Africans were not buying shea butter from no Africans. They're like, don't worry, we'll go and get it from home.
Even now. I'll bring it from Ghana.
Yes. And it would be $1, not this $10 you're asking for. So in those early years, we already decided that, okay, you know, maybe Africans, like our own people were not the people to really target as our market in the early years. And then the other thing we started doing was we started on the weekends, we would go to a farmer's market in Olney, Maryland, which is very diverse. A lot of woke white people, Black people, Spanish people, everybody was there. And we're like, you know what, if we can sell this in this market, then we know we can get into Whole Foods. And so every weekend we would go out there, set up our tents, set up our tables, and I would literally be rubbing shea butter on people's hands till we actually had a following. So this was before social media where you could set up, this was before Instagram, this was before all the cool, sexy stuff that you have now where you can actually build an audience and sell a product. Right. Back in my day, we sold the product to build an audience.
Yeah.
And it was from there, just being in the community and selling, we got into some of the local natural stores. And then from there, we approached Whole Foods. And, the rest, as they say, is history. Now, Mami, which surprises, there have been so many serendipitous surprises that, we've experienced just from being in business and also having our hearts kind of turn towards our homeland, where when we went to start sourcing good quality, not the one with peanuts and rocks and everything, when we started going to do the real sourcing and going into local communities in Nigeria, Ghana, Mali, being able to see how the women worked and being able to look at them and say, that could be me. Actually, I probably have some aunties 3 times removed who are doing something similar. If they're not doing shea butter, they are selling pap or selling ewedu by the streets. And I saw how hard these women worked. And I also saw how much appreciation we have for what they produce and how, it's going to help our business. And it was kind of from there that the trajectory of my business shifted a little. It was about creating great products because my husband and I would do all our own custom formulations for shampoo, body wash, and everything. It was that whatever business we were doing anywhere in Africa was having an impact. So even though and gamble and we're not Unilever, just know that in that small community, if you brought $5,000, $500, talk less of $50,000, and you did business, buying raw material, it's changing people's lives. And so it was that transformative piece of my business that started opening other doors. I got to travel more than when I was working in my IT job. I got to meet more people. I got to meet Warren Buffett. It's almost like your business will start making ways for you and start fulfilling you in ways you could never have imagined if you had stayed in your comfort zone and stepped out. So my life has become richer because of this business. Not that it's so much that I'm swimming in the dough, because let me tell you, that is always still a challenge, finding the capital to do the next thing and the next thing. Cynthia, when you get into those chain stores, you will need to find capital because those stores, they will buy and they will owe you for 90 days. Sometimes. So really just being able to have the resources to navigate all the next opportunities that God brings your way is key. So I'll stop right there.
Yeah, so I want to go
back. I would like to add one thing. When you talk about the women, right? When I went to the North, one thing I realized was the sisterhood that, these women have. They wanted to show me how to, they create the shea butter. And on only 25 kg shea butter, about 30 women came. One is picking the bucket, one is grabbing water, one is doing this together. Oh my God, it was amazing. I found that some of them are even married to the same man. You will never know. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. When you get opportunity to visit home and experience the community back home. It's wonderful.
So I want to piggyback with that, but I'm going to go to Martha really quickly. I want to piggyback with sort of like the social enterprise part of the businesses that you have as well, and the impact to the communities that you're working with. So Martha, do you want to give us your question, and then we'll flip into that discussion too?
Yeah, I have a question regarding the starting where you are, and I I don't remember both of you touching on it, but I'm assuming that before you started your business, you had your green card in the US, like you were full-time residents. In my case, I'm almost about finishing school, and there are a lot of legal implications. So you might want to expand, but then you have that restriction. And sometimes you're even scared to advertise, or because you don't know if you'll be deported because of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many uncertainties, and you can't get clear responses on it. So with something like that, what do you do? Like, you stick with your friends, your community that you know. Is because for once I also had the tendency of talking to a storekeeper just about the product, but then there was also this fear, okay, what if we are deported? So I don't know what you would have to say about that.
Martha, are you talking in the European context, because you are based in France? So
Yeah.
just so they have clarity in
Yes,
terms of
yes.
addressing that for you.
Yes, exactly.
So without knowing much about the law, but knowing a little bit about fear, I'll say the best antidote to fear is just getting the information. You know, finding out if I start a business and if I start selling something as someone on a student visa, am I allowed to do it or not? I think you will be pleasantly surprised to find out that there might be loopholes whereby you are allowed to do certain types of businesses in certain types of way as someone on a student visa, and that will set you free. And if it turns out that no, you can't do it, then plan B, start thinking about how you're going to be running the business from Ghana or wherever or West Africa. And let's not forget that we have this wonderful World Wide Web where I don't know what kind of restrictions any government can put on you selling online, but you know, I'm not in France, but I would say, first of all, deal with the root of that fear. And the way you deal with it is to get the answers. Once you get the answers, there is clarity. You know that, okay, now I only have option B. And you focus on that, as opposed to not really being able to make a move because you're like, well, maybe it's wrong, maybe it's not wrong. So get your answers, get clarity, and then you'll know the next step to make.
I think on this question, I would love for Obenewa to speak a bit, because Obenewa is American, she's Guinean and based in
South Africa.
South Africa, and she has gone through a whole trajectory of work. And so I would love your wisdom. We would love your wisdom on this, Obenewa.
Thanks. Hi, ladies. It's been really lovely to hear from you about your journeys, both of you. My situation is a bit different in that I'm a professional services provider. I'm a coach and a facilitator. And if you had asked me 10 years ago if I was going to be an entrepreneur, I'd be like, huh? Why? But it was something that I really grew into over the years. And you know how when you look back at your history, you're like, oh, this is what this thing was preparing me for. So I decided around about 2015, when I was transitioning from my role as a CEO, to begin thinking about what it was I wanted to do next. And I realized that what I most valued was flexibility. And also what I really valued was working with people, and in particular, professional Black women, right? Because there just is not necessarily a lot of support for us out there, no matter where we go, right? So what does it look like to create safe spaces where we can come together, we can think out loud, where we can learn together, where we can make mistakes, right? If I could just say one thing off the bat, you all are going to make mistakes, and that's okay. I think that many of us have been taught that we have to be perfect in order to have an impact, that we've got to get it right the first time. But the truth is, being an entrepreneur is really about taking the risks. It's about making sometimes some calculated mistakes. And when you fall down, being like, actually, let me just learn from that. In the same way we pay for these university degrees, sometimes you pay a little bit as an entrepreneur for your mistake, but that's okay. So I think we have to get really comfortable with uncertainty and with knowing that we're learning on the job, right? So as I began to think about this, what I wanted to do next, began to do my training as a coach. And then I went to work for another institution for 2 years. I worked for Harvard here in South Africa. I headed up their Africa office. And even while I was there, while I was fully committed to that, I was also really clear, like from my own standpoint, financially, what type of money do I need to be saving? How do I build my networks? How can I begin to show people what it is that I want to do and not just tell them? Because actually, if we could just do a quick poll, how many people here actually know what a coach is or what a coach does? Okay, we got like a couple of people, but me personally, I only found out maybe 2008 because a friend of mine here in South Africa, who's also from Ghana, sent an email saying someone she knew was was getting their coaching certification and they needed people to coach for free. Now, personally, I like free things, so I went, and turns out it was her father, which probably wasn't the best, setup. But really, a coach is someone who is meant to help you think through things differently. It's about helping you find different perspectives, helping you find solutions to different challenges that you might be having, both the internal blocks, such as fear, but also external things like how do I go ahead and start my business. So this was when I first became exposed to coaching. And during my time of transition, I began showing people what it is that I wanted to do. I think that being a professional services company, there are a couple of unique challenges that we have. The first thing is that we are the product, right? So things like reputation become really key. People, they always say people need to know you, they need to like you, they need to trust you if they're going to, if you're going to become their solution, so to speak. I think the second challenge that is presented in terms of being a professional services company is that you can only make as much money as you have hours in the day. So if I'm coaching someone, if I'm speaking somewhere, that means other work isn't happening. So it becomes about thinking about secondary and tertiary income streams, right? So in addition to coaching, I've got online courses. I'm in the process of writing a book. So the point of, becoming an entrepreneur wasn't just so that I could work 24/7 for myself instead of someone else. And any type of professional services, really, you need to think about how you begin to differentiate, right? So the thing that I always say to people is don't be married to. So first of all, if you're going to enter into professional services, don't do it because you think you're going to make a lot of money. I mean, that's a good reason to enter in, right? But that can't be your sole reason. You need to do it because it's part of your purpose. It's part of your calling. It's something that you're passionate about and talented about. What I often say to people is that purpose is the place where your passion, your talent meet the world's needs, right? Because you could be passionate and talented about something, but nobody needs it. But when all three of those things come together for you, that's, I think, what makes a successful professional services company. But part of that is about being married to the purpose, to what you're doing, necessarily how you're doing it. And if there's one thing this past year has taught us, it's that. I had colleagues who were like, oh, I would never coach someone online. You can't possibly. My preference has always been to coach online. So this past year was a lot easier for me, right? And so there will be different delivery modes, as Sis Funlayo was saying. She started at the farmer's market. Then it's Whole Foods. Then it's right. Don't be married to how you're doing it, but be married to the what you're doing. And then the third thing I would say with professional services is you've got to take care of yourself because you are the product, right? This notion of self-care is seriously important. It's not about being indulgent, but if I'm tired, if I'm cranky, if I'm off my game, there's no way that I can come and listen to you authentically and from a place of grace to achieve what we're trying to achieve. So you've got to take care of yourself. And one thing that I'm still thinking about is, so this is my third year in business, is how do I grow and expand? So if you look at companies like Deloitte and Touche, Deloitte was a person, right? If you look at Ernst & Young, those were people. So what does it look like for me to package my expertise, to train other people in my expertise, and to begin having them deliver that product as well? So for me, that's kind of, phase 3. I'm in phase 2 now. But I would say that if you want to be in professional services, it's a great place. Rarely do I feel like I'm working, except for when my accountant is harassing me, right? It feels like I'm talking to my girlfriends all the time.
That's
But
right.
you've got to be really clear about why you're doing it. You've got to be passionate about it. And you've also got to be very consistent about keeping personal and professional boundaries in place.
Thank you for that, Abinua. Now, knowing that you are in South Africa, American, Ghanaian, how did that work for you in terms of like immigration? Going back to Martha's question, other question of like, how did that even work for you? And what were you allowed to do? And again, I appreciate, Mafuna, you saying going back to the law. What happened in your case?
So my case was a bit interesting. You know, I moved to South Africa in 2006. It was kind of on a whim. I was living in the US. I was done. George Bush became president. I was like, this is a white supremacist state. See, you all needed Donald Trump to tell you. I peeped it back then. I was like,
we know that.
I'm like, I'm out. I'm out.
We know that.
And, you know, South Africa, for those of you who have been here, you know, the legislation is not necessarily friendly to foreigners and particularly to other Africans. There's a real situation around Afrophobia here that we must just name. And I think it's part of the legacy of apartheid and what people were taught. So I'm both a Ghanaian citizen and American citizen. When I came to South Africa, I came on my US passport because I'd been living there, and legislation had just changed, making it that much harder to hire foreigners. And so I had 1 semester left in my master's degree. So I decided to come and finish that in South Africa. And that's how I got a student visa. And the number one thing, and this is something that I say to people all the time, is, and I don't know, something is just prompting me. Sometimes I do sessions on this, on networking. If you all would like a networking session at some stage, I'd be happy to do that. But, you know, just get out there and get to know people, talk to people, engage people, interact with people. It was over a conversation in the postgraduate student pub with this Nigerian dude who mentioned working 20 hours a week, where I was like, wait, I could work? Because what I'd been doing, and remember, this is 2006. So now you can go on and Google real quick and, you know, make your embassy with your appointment with your embassy or high commission. That was not the case then. We were barely out of dial-up. So I'm in this, and he says 20 hours a week. Now, I had been volunteering for an organization, the Steve Biko Foundation. And part of the reason I was volunteering was because they couldn't necessarily hire me. But when we found out this 20 hours a week thing, I then came on as a consultant. And again, it's about, someone spoke earlier about your business making room for you. And I think this is something else that I just feel prompted to say. You might be looking to pivot or do something new or different, but everything in your path has happened for you to this point. So it might feel like the most random thing, right? That you think has nothing to do with anything was preparation. So I used to run a program for former African heads of state where I would put together conferences. They wanted to do a conference for Steve Biko's for the 30th anniversary of his death. So boom. They asked me, could you do this conference? I was like, with my eyes closed. So, you know, I got heads of state to come. And because of that, I was able to get what's called an exceptional skills work permit, right? So they then sponsored me for an exceptional skills work permit. And I'll also say this, you know, sometimes you've got to give of yourself, particularly in professional services, in order to get income generating opportunities, right? So when I first started with this organization, they weren't paying me. I was just volunteering. The 2 other volunteers who were supposed to be running this national campaign for Steve Biko's birthday dropped out, right, of the program. So then I ended up running a national campaign, having only been in the country for 6 months. And so that gave me a great platform on which to prove myself. So had I said from the very beginning, no money, no Obenawa, I wouldn't have had these opportunities, right? Now, ladies, let's also have boundaries and be clear and be strategic. So we're not just, you know, giving our time and talent everywhere. So they sponsored me for an exceptional skills visa. And then with exceptional skills, you're able to apply for permanent residency right away. And I'm going to tell this to you all, anytime you can apply for permanent residency, your green card, whatever, do it immediately. Do not wait. I had so many friends who waited because they thought they could do it. And the legislation changed, right? So I have permanent residency in South Africa. My business is currently registered in South Africa. And I think this is the great thing, Martha, you know, you can be thinking about what makes sense for you, right? Because if I spend a certain amount of time in the US, I can move the business to the US, but there are a lot of factors to take into account, like taxes, et cetera, et cetera. My advice to you would be twofold. And I hope you don't mind me being so bold as to say this, because Sis Funayo alluded to before, fear. You know, often when we are moving into our purpose, a few things happen. One, we tend to procrastinate. right? I don't know about you, but if I have a big proposal to do and I'm kind of scared and intimidated, guys, the linen closet needs to be done. I need to meal prep for the next one, right? Like, it is ridiculous. So we tend to procrastinate. We use all types of excuses to procrastinate. And sometimes lack of information can be a form of procrastination, right? The other thing that we'll start to do sometimes when we move into our purpose is that we become perfectionists. We feel like, oh my God, everything has to be absolutely positively correct. I mean, I was looking at my first logo a couple of days ago. I was like, this is hideous, right? But it's okay. It's what I started with, right? And now 3 iterations down the line, I'm like, okay, this is respectable. I'm sure in 5 years, I'll look back and be like, what was I thinking, right? So don't become a perfectionist. And then the third thing that we tend to do when we're starting to move into our purpose is that we begin to be persistent, that we've got to do it this particular way, even when this particular way isn't working. And part of the reason that we do this, it's what I call our inner protector. You know, we're sometimes afraid to take risks or to do things because it's scary. And so our protector will throw up all these things because our inner protector is clever. And so it's about acknowledging that fear. It's about acknowledging the imposter syndrome, just being like, actually, I see you, I hear you, I feel you, but I'm going to step out anyway. And so I would really just encourage you, be like Nike out here. Just do it.
Do it. Do it. This is so good. This is so good. And I think it was Bemi who had posted something in there about practice makes progress, not practice makes perfect. And I that really resonated. And Obenewa and to Obenewa and Funlayo, sorry as Nana and Valerie and stuff. I'm not trying to take over, but I just had to say this because
no. We need more of these discussions.
Important. Obenewa said something that Funlayo actually has embodied for me. She said, you know, you have to give of yourself. In business, I'm in the professional services anyways. I'm in all of them.
So we have that conversation.
And it's like it takes money to get money. I remember when I connected with Funlayo through another mentee, and you know, one Christmas, and then I get this big box, and I was like, what is this big box? And it was like a whole box of like Share Radiance product, you know. So that was the first. I was like, oh, this is nice. I was like, oh, free stuff. Yeah, I like free stuff now, Abby, you know. And then 2 days, I think another time, I think Funlayo was doing a promotion or something, and then she sent me another. I was like, this woman, quickly. My husband's birthday was coming up. I was like, and my husband started using it, and he liked it. So I started ordering. So I went online. I started sharing with people. But to the point that Benoit is making, you have to give out to receive. But of course, you have to be strategic. And so I just wanted to honor that. I'm still right now. I have an appointment, and I'm waiting for my box from AfriKinky. So,
Mame, if I could just jump in there and just say something else, because I think this is particularly important, particularly for us as Black women, that we haven't been taught. In as much as we have to give of ourselves to succeed, we also need to invest in ourselves. When was the last time you took a course? How many of you looked at an ebook and you were like, ooh, a $50 ebook, but we won't talk about what we spend on our hair, right? You won't buy the ebook. You know, guys, I am being so serious, right? You won't buy the ebook. You won't take the course. You won't go back for that degree. You won't invest in coaching, yet you expect to be able to move to the next level. Right? You've got to constantly be working on your skills and investing in yourself in strategic and robust ways. The other thing that I would say is stop trying to do it all. Stop trying to do it all. You know, I had a situation yesterday. So I needed something put on my online course website, Teachable, and it was just taking me so long. I wasn't getting it together. And there was a woman who had helped me when I first set it up. And so I reached out to her, and she was going to charge me $100 to do this. She's like, I'll be done in like 5 hours. And in my head, I was like, 5 hours, I could do the thing myself. Then I was like, why are you being stupid? Right? Because yes, you could do it, but it will take you more than 5 hours. She'll do it better than you. She'll do it faster than you. And there's so many other things you need to be doing. So when we're first starting out, I know the temptation can be to say, I'm not going to spend any money. I'm going to do it all myself, and trust. That first logo, I mean, I did do it myself on Canva, right? But it's also about saying, what are the strategic investments I can make that will help me move to the next next level more quickly, but also be a blessing to people in my network. And so don't be afraid to spend money to do things you technically could do yourself, but that you'll make yourself crazy doing, and that will take you a long time.
Rabino, that actually leads into one of the core values for Africa, AWDF USA. Yeah. One of the core values that we talk about at AWDF USA is that we come from an abundance mindset.
Yes.
I think as African women, you know, we have this scarcity mentality, you know, that plagues us so much. And we are always thinking, oh, sorry, I spoke tree, but let me just put a little bit here, you know, how do you say it even in Swahili, you know, kido, or whatever we call it. Valerie will tell me, right? How do you say it?
Kidogo.
Kidogo, yes, kidogo, right? But that scarcity mentality really hurts us. And instead of looking at each other as complementing, we think we are competing. Instead of supporting, we sabotage, you know, and then we have this mentality in our head where we have all these superstitions, you know, if I tell you my secret, hey, the witches from the village will come and be carrying my head, you know, they'll take my head and they'll be carrying it away. So all these superstitions and scarcity mentality, it's killing us. And I think we need a transformation of the mind. You know, if we are going to be successful, we need transformation of the mind. So this is so rich.
Thank you. And I just want to recognize a friend of mine who just joined, Marcia, who's from Guyana, but spent a lot of time in Seychelles, right? So thank you for joining. Thank you, Marcia. But you know, this has been, I feel like this is also, and thank you for Cynthia and Olivia, just to share your story around AfriKinky, and just sort of the serendipitous journey. It sounds very similar to what Funlayo and Obinna were talking about as well. And Obinna, I'll take this offline, but I think that what you're sharing here around what your purpose is, for me, it's very, like for me, I've gone through this cycle of many things, right? And I think it's going to be very important, especially for the younger generation, to have like that level of thinking and ideation with you as well. So maybe we'll take that offline and figure out how we can do that. But I think that could be really interesting for everybody. Especially as the world shifts right now with COVID, like we don't know what's gonna happen. I think we're in a shift for the next 3 to 4 years, right? And I think that we'll know what the new world looks like. I'll give you like 2024, that's my thinking. But I think it'd be really interesting to have a conversation about your purpose, right? And I think that's a strand that I've seen through everybody's discussion here is something drove you to get to where you are, and all these sort of serendipitous movements and happenings have gotten you now where you are. And I think, Obinna, I appreciated your perspective of what's going to get you now to the next level, and you have to invest in yourself, right? And you can't stay where you are, and you have to kind of keep reiterating. So I know we're running off time, but I just wanted to say, any questions, any thoughts? And this feels like almost like a part one to a discussion that we may carry through the year. So I'm excited. I feel like this is also a good talk for me. I was one that used to make the sheer butter, you know, for my niece. When I moved in with my sister, I was a crazy auntie that was mixing stuff every Saturday. Marcia knows, right? I was mixing stuff every Saturday with my little sheer butter thing. And I did work on some sheer butter extraction like machinery when I was in Ghana in the 90s, right? When I was doing some work there as well, appropriate technology. So it was really interesting to hear this conversation and supporting communities. But maybe one last question is, how have you been able to impact the communities on the continent, right, with AfriKinky, with Sheer Radiance, and also Obinna, what you're doing with women on the continent globally as well? How do you think you've been able to affect those communities? And maybe Cynthia, I'll go to you and Olivia as well in terms of the communities and co-ops you're working with, and then go to Funlayo as well.
So in terms of the communities, basically, the more we are able to source from them, the more money goes back home. We did a campaign with, you know, sending things back home. But one thing we realized is education is key. So we're working on a way that we can invest in education. They're trying to build a school. So that's our next point, right? Because when we are able to invest in education, it have multiple effects on the community, not just, you know, just the money, but also education. So that's something we are working on, and you're gonna see more about it as we move.
Okay. And I just had another thought of an organization that's been building schools globally and in Ghana as well, I have to find the CEO's information and we can talk through what that looks like. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. And Fulnayo, what's your perspective on that and sort of the impact you've been able to have on the communities?
So it's evolved. You know, when I got started, I was very hands-on in the communities, partnering with NGOs in country, you know, like GIZ, getting appropriate technologies to help the women scale up. And I just found that it wasn't a sustainable model for a company my size. I was too much in the weeds because then I had to be in the US building a brand, looking for Whole Foods and all that stuff. And so, and also I realized that even though it had an impact at that moment, fast forward a year or two, some of the equipment couldn't be maintained. There are goats and chickens sleeping in the grinders. And so I had to kind of rethink impact. But like Cynthia said, the most important thing we can do is buy. Like, I feel like that economic piece is so key. I get very upset when I see brands saying, oh, buy a toothbrush, we'll give an African woman a free toothbrush, or buy a shoe, we'll give them. We don't need toothbrushes. We don't need free shoes. Just pay us, you know. That share producer, that black soap maker, she already knows what she's doing. She's just looking for a business partner.
Yeah.
And so that's what I focus on now. Women-led supply chain business partners. Yes. And then, you know, tertiary products, like I'd like to hear more about the school. I can support that. We've done clean stoves for share producers. I can support that. But I think the economics, hands down, is the best thing we can do for women on the continent.
Thank you. Thank you. Obina, what thoughts on that? From a different, I mean, different business.
Yeah. So when I go back to my purpose statement, if you were to ask me, Obina, what's your purpose? My purpose is to be a catalyst, right? So a catalyst, for people who are not science nerds like me, is something you put in with other things and it creates a chemical reaction, right? It gets something going, but it itself is unchanged. So I see myself as a catalyst really for unlocking the potential of Black women globally. And so I call myself an impact coach because I work with women who are about having impact in the world. So my clients will include everything from journalists to the head of NGOs, to people who are in education, to executives, right? And I'm fortunate to have clients internationally. And so for me, it really is about how do we create spaces for us as Black women to understand who we are authentically, to operate from places of power, to know what we value, what value we bring, and to be able to take that to the world, right? Because many of you can think of your auntie, your cousin, your mom, who was doing these remarkable things. And if she just had a little bit more insight or perspective, what she would have been able to do for a broader audience. And so for me, it's really about working with those people who are going to have a bigger impact and to ultimately change the world.
And you know, Nana, there's something that is important with what both Funlayo and Obiniwa and Cynthia are saying. Like Funlayo, I like what you said about I don't need shoes, just pay me. And that goes to dismantling and deconstructing the systems of power and privilege and oppression that are in place. Because sometimes in the process of doing our work, we perpetuate the cycle. And if you don't take time to step back, to ask, to really clarify your why do you do it, and to look at what are the things, you know, I think Martin Luther King said it right, is like, you know, don't ask that why I have to be philanthropic, but ask, why is it that I have to go into, what made it easier for us to have to do that? Right. And so really getting to that place, because I think more and more we can go into all of this, but at the heart of it, we have to go at how do we shift the systems from the root and change the inequities and the oppression and the, you know, the discrimination and all those things. So that's sitting with me. So thank you, ladies, for really highlighting that in different ways.
Thank you. Okay. I feel like a sense of peace now. I don't know why. so many gems dropped all the time, and so many gems dropped today. And I just, again, any last questions, thoughts, or I'm going to wrap this up. I know we're running a little over time, but again, just want to say a big thank you to Cynthia and Olivia for sort of putting yourselves out here and just sharing your words of wisdom, and to Funlayo and Obiniwa, thanks for being participants, but also like we threw you in here. And I really appreciate your gems, and it just brings so much more questions for for us as we go and determine like what we're going to talk about this year. I think that some of the ideas shared here are really powerful ideas that I think are not just about business or go beyond that, right? And I think that that's something I would love to, you know, with the team, figure out how we talk through some of these ideas for ourselves so that we're better for our own selves and for the community, especially as this world shifts. So I really, really would love to kind of come back to some of these ideas and have really frank and candid conversations as we've had today. So with that said, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for joining our first AfriWomen. Yes, yes.
Oh, just a little bit
sure,
about
no problem.
AWDF USA, our
Yes,
campaigns
yes.
and stuff, if you want to share it, you know.
Yes.
And I don't know if Auntie Abby is still there, but
Yes,
you know,
I think
Grandma
so.
has to always give us a little
She'll be doing the
blessing.
last. Yes.
Auntie Abby, are you there?
Auntie Abby, are you here?
I'm still here.
Yes.
I am still here. This has been wonderful. It was frustrating in parts because the sound has been so wretched. But I was reading the comments and I kept listening, and I'll try and go back to the recording. But I just want to, like everybody else, say thank you. As you know, I always find this particular conversation, I try not to miss the Hangouts because I always find them uplifting and inspirational, no matter what's going on. And there's so much craziness going on right now. And here in Ghana, we've lost a lot of people just in the last few weeks. And it's hard just to keep your spirits up. But I always feel empowered listening to you guys talk, you know. So thank you for doing this. Thank you for keeping it up. I don't know when our next one is or what our next one is, but I'm sure you'll let us know.
Yes, yes. So I know that some of the plans for this year is really to solidify this network and really also have our own sort of special day in March to have a larger discussion on many topics or a mini sort of gathering and forum of diaspora women. So we plan to do that for March, but really this year the goal is to listen to what the needs are and really kind of build programming around that. So it's not solidified yet. And that's why, again, like hearing the voices and hearing some of the questions means that we want to respond to all of you and not sort of come up with something in a silo. So I think this discussion has been super helpful for us as well in terms of what we may want to do next. But the goal this year is to solidify a network of African women in the diaspora and really kind of grow and have people hear these messages as well, just to keep us empowered and continue to empower the next generation. So that's our goal for this year.
One of the wonderful things about this conversation is that sometimes you don't know you need to hear it until you're listening to it, you know.
Absolutely, yes.
And I just want to, one of the things that I have been sitting with a lot is this idea of honor and how we honor each other as women and as Black women. You know, Auntie Abby sort of gives us the opportunity to practice that in so many ways. And I want that for AWDF USA, I want that to become part and parcel of our DNA. It is our ethos in terms of how we honor each other, every single person, because there's so much that we bring to each other. And sometimes we are so busy moving and the wheels are turning and we are going and going and going. And we don't realize, you know, that it's the little things that a lot of times speaks honor without you opening your mouth to say anything. And Tumi, who is on here over the Christmas break, you know, they live in San Jose, which is about an hour from where I live. And she and Folake, you know, they drove 1 hour and just to come and give me puff puff and meat pie. You know, and
I mean, I'll drive and bring your kinky.
I'm ready for it.
Wait, Cynthia, I'm closer.
And they drove 1 hour to come and I know how to make puff puff. I can make great Ghana puff puff. In fact, even jollof, Ghana jollof, you know, we don't want to go into that argument, but you know, Ghana has it all, right? But they drove all the way to come and give me puff puff and meat pie. We went for a long walk for like 3 hours, and we came back and we sat in the garage and we talked for another 5 hours. You know, my husband was like, "You're not done," you know. But in that moment, I expressed to them how much that meant to me. And that for me meant honor. And so I really want us to walk away with that this new dawn for us as Black women, especially, how do we honor each other? That's one of the ways we can amplify each other. And so even in the littlest way, if it just means picking up a call and calling somebody, your phone, and calling somebody and say, "Hey, that word you said was off the chain." You know, I'm seeing all the messages going to Amanda Gorman, and it's like, you know, Oprah and Michelle and everybody. And it's like this little sister is like, she's like, "Yo, guys, I don't know, my things are breaking down." Yeah. But what are those little things that you can identify and be intentional and thoughtful about that? Let's begin to weave honor in who we are and how we show up. And I believe that for this network of AfriWomen, that ethos, once we start to embody it, it will take us a long way. So with that, I want to honor every single person: Cynthia, Nana, Martha, Obenewa, Auntie Marcia, Sister Folayo, Auntie Abby, Moitzi, Novi, Impoto, yeah, Tumi, Grace, Glory, Olivia, Bemi, Angie, my ladder, your elevator, Adi, Sim. Thank you. And of course, myself. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. And we'll see you at the next one. So stay tuned. But thank you so much for joining us today. It's been, again, Auntie Abby, going back to what you said, the message that you didn't realize you need to hear, but you heard. And so I want to thank everyone here for this opportunity just to hear our voices and amplify each other as well. So thank you. We'll see you soon. Happy start to 2021. Oh, even though some of the energies are still confusing. But again, please remember, and I'm going to try to do this now, if you can, the survey that was sent out before, certainly if you can fill that out, that would be great, because we want to get your feedback as well. And let me try to find that and send it out again. Give me a minute.
And if you're not on the AfriWomen platform, right now you're on WhatsApp and you would love to be, Nana can put that in there and share it, share it to the group later so we can include you on there as well.
And I think for everyone on here, we should have your information for those who registered and those who are already on the network. So I think we have everyone covered. We'll make sure we send the link out as well. It may have to take me a bit to find it, but okay. So here's what I will do. I'll put my cell phone in the chat just in case you don't have it, and then you can always send me a note and we can add you to it, okay? All right, so thank you so much, everyone. We will see you next time.
Thanks, Moitzi.
Thank you. Thank Moitzi and Valerie for planning this together. And thank you. All right, bye. It's good to see everyone. Bye.
Good to be here. Bye-bye.